We are continuing our new rule, which is only women and men with beards come on Coffee with Contrarians. So Ben is keeping us on track.
Two
And
great
our
options.
friends are joining us. Yes, it's Jen and another bearded man. Um, Hello, folks. Welcome. Those of you who know him know Ben Wikler is part of our Men with Beards Club. So we are delighted to have him. Norm is in transit today, so he will be back next week. Ben, as always, graciously joining us from the great state of Wisconsin. I was just there. It was beautiful in early fall, sunny, lovely, beautiful lake there. It's really, Madison is really quite lovely.
There's no better place on earth. We're taking coffee with contrarians literally this morning. It's very important to caffeinate to get through these dark days. And, for Minnesotans out there, I just want you to know that although Minnesota's bumper sticker or their license plates say the land of 10,000 lakes, Wisconsin technically has 15,000 lakes. So we are
Wow.
very
Yeah.
proud of our lakes here in the upper Midwest.
Yes. But Ben, you've got to go order your merch at our Contrarian store. You can get a mug so you can use an official, yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
That's what we need.
A mug, a t-shirt, a tote, through the end of the month, folks. Yes. Special one-time offer, actually.
Makes a great gift. This is an opportunity to get prepared. Here we are in the days of awe. Maybe you want to get someone a Yom Kippur gift. You could create a new tradition. Maybe
we talked about this. Next year, we're going to have honey dippers and shofars. We're going to do the whole 9 yards. So it's going to be great. It is really a lovely time of the year. And, sitting in shul the last couple of days, I felt definitely a sense of renewal. It was very funny. Many rabbis, I am sure, certainly in my shul, others across the country, were talking about the fact that they felt under great pressure to give people hope. Like, how do you make sense of this? And basically, they came to the conclusion there's no one thing. We're not here to click our heels 3 times and make it all go away, but little acts every day make a difference. Little bits of light, little bits of kindness, little bits of political action. And that's basically been Ben's philosophy all along. You get people engaged, and doing is so much better than worrying.
That's the whole thing. It doesn't work to sit there and scroll and hope that there's some ray of light that comes out and restores your faith in humanity. The only thing that restores your faith in the possibility of a better future is to get involved in building it. And when you do that, it unlocks everything. You discover all these amazing people who are fighting for something better. You discover that you have your own power to act. And the reality is, there have been much darker times than this in world history, in American history. There have been much better times. And at every step, things got better because people rolled up their sleeves instead of wringing their hands and went to work. And that's what the Contrarians do, which is why this community is so amazing.
Absolutely. And if you participated in the Disney boycott, you probably had that sense of elation. Look what we accomplished. So don't miss the next action. You too can feel that sense of joy, that sense of satisfaction. We beat back Brendan Carr, Donald Trump, and Disney. And it's that sense of ownership that is so inspiring. We are so far past 1,000. Let's get on with it, Ben. We could talk like this. We could do the chit-chat part of the show all day long. Ben, the shutdown. Donald Trump has gone ballistic. Not only did he cancel that meeting with the Democratic leadership, but now he says, I'm going to be firing everybody. What's going on here?
The guy has no poker face. That's to me, that's what's so interesting about this whole thing. Last time he was like, oh yes, shut down the government. That's exactly what I want. This time he's very clearly freaking out. And the reason that he's freaking out is because the economy is stuttering right now. Yeah. He politically cannot afford to send the economy over a cliff. So his Russ Vought, the head of the Office of Management and Budget, sent this memo saying they would just start willy-nilly firing people, the reduction in force memos, that they'd fire anyone who was doing things that aren't in line with the president's priorities. Well, they already try to do that all the time. And when they do that, they get sued and they often have to rehire people, or they fire people. And then they're like, oops, we kind of need those people to not have the country fall apart. That would be on our watch. So then they rehire them. This is a threat that they're using brinksmanship because they are freaked out that if the Republicans shut down the government in order to cut people's health care, which is what Democrats are fighting back against, they will catch rightly all the blame for it. It will be disaster for them politically, and then they might actually have to do something good in order to get the government reopened. Democrats are they don't have a lot of cards, but they're playing their cards right now, and they're saying, we're not going to provide votes for massive cuts to people's healthcare. We're just not going to do it. So if you want our votes to keep the government open, then you got to actually come to the table and figure out how not to throw millions of people off their health insurance and jack up prices. You'd think in this moment that bringing prices down instead of shooting them up might be something you could find bipartisan compromise about. But apparently for Donald Trump, that's a bridge too far. The idea that people might have to pay a little bit more for health insurance gets them excited. The idea that you could bring those costs freaks them out. So this is, they're staring each other in the eye across the table from each other right now. And right now it's the Republicans who are like, blink, please blink, please blink.
Well, a couple of points that you mentioned are so important. First of all, there's no guarantee he wouldn't fire these people, even if there is a deal. That's what he's been doing all along. That's what Doge was all about. So, big threat. Second issue, Russ Voigt put in there that, he would be particularly looking at people who do not have the president's priorities. This is more of this same First Amendment violation, politicization of career employees. This is this noxious behavior that turns everything into a political weapon of retribution, a weapon of revenge. So I think the most important thing is encourage Democrats to hold firm. As Ben has pointed out many times, they're not only demanding that they extend the subsidies in the exchanges for the Affordable Care Act, but they're also saying put back the money for Medicaid. And that's exactly the right position. You can't simply say, well, could you please do this other thing that you probably want to do anyway? No, you got to go back and put the money back. It's going to be real interesting how Republicans in the House and Senate begin to react. They can read the polls. They see what's going on. They can get phone calls from back home. They know this is not going well. And it sure doesn't help them to say, oh, yeah, the guy who's screaming bloody murder and looks like a lunatic is our leader. So I think this is time, once again, for them to reconsider the crazy train. Speaking of the crazy train, Donald Trump publicly ordered his U.S. attorney and his attorney general, rather, to go and indict his enemies, Tish James and Adam Schiff. He has also been calling forever for James Comey to be indicted. For what, we don't know yet.
He might not know yet. Let's be real here. The indictment for him is the thing. There doesn't have to be crime involved or any kind of allegation.
No. Just kind of a guy figure out the crime. Yeah. So there's word that a indictment is imminent. This is the typical vindictive, illegal, selective prosecution. There is really no basis, if you get into the weeds, for saying that James Comey ever perjured anyone. And it's kind of bizarre, frankly, that he should be so enraged at the guy who arguably handed him the 2016 election by stepping in it and messing up Hillary Clinton's closing campaign.
What has he done for him lately? That's probably, he's like, why didn't he throw me the 2020 election? What's wrong here? That's outrageous. Only one election. The thing about this is, Comey is a critic. He was a very vocal critic, and Donald Trump has the world's thinnest skin. He can't stand the idea that someone who said something bad about him might have a TV show or just not be in jail in general. So that's what this is fundamentally about. It's just his bruised ego. He wants people to, this is about sending a message to everybody else, trying to cow and silence every critic. And it's just that it so sticks in his craw that Comey's, probably giving speeches still, has written books, and this guy who said something mean about him gets to do that? That's outrageous. That's not how it's supposed to work. That is how it's supposed to work. Yes. The thing that's so striking to me is that he's asking his prosecutors and cycling through them whenever he doesn't get it to basically throw themselves on the sword. Because if you prosecute someone on totally BS charges, we've seen the lower courts are still intact enough that you can't materialize a crime out of thin air. So just announcing the indictment might make Trump happy for like an hour, but then the prosecutors know that a few days later, if their charges are dismissed, it's going to look even worse, and Trump will blame them for that too. It's like the movie villain who, punches every messenger who walks in and tells him something that he doesn't like. it's a bad management strategy. You get the
Yes.
feeling that Trump didn't pay a lot of attention at Wharton.
Yes, it does kind of remind me of Wile E. Coyote, who's continually blowing himself up. Um, I think it's important to remember that there are good and decent prosecutors. The ones who are getting fired for refusing or being forced to resign for refusing to do this. And according to news reports, there was a prosecutor within that office in the Eastern District of Virginia who wrote a memo explaining we can't indict this guy. There isn't enough evidence. So it's those people. And, Republicans had better start weighing in because it's they who should have an interest in, frankly, making sure there are no political prosecutions because they'll be next. We know what a thin skin he has. And
That's exactly right.
By the way, Donald Trump is not doing very well. So far as he cheers them on to do stupid, illegal things, you wonder if they're getting a little nervous. And you saw, it was interesting, John Thune the other day saying, oh, we don't really like that Tylenol business. Oh, we don't really like censorship. Inch by inch, they seem to be leaning back from the president.
This is exactly right. And the thing about it, I mean, it's so true with any bully classically, right? Is that if you think that you're safe in the shadow of the bully, just, standing right behind him, well, eventually he runs out of victims in front of him and he turns around and starts punching you. This is
Yes.
Classic's whole thing is to break and humiliate the people around him. And Republicans are starting to realize that there really is no floor with this guy. So when you say they'll be next because Trump will go after them next. This is their problem. The leopard eating face party is the leopards are inside the house at this point. And I guess you could say the Senate and the White House. The idea that if you just say yes to everything Trump does, you'll be okay, it falls apart every 5 minutes. Like, for example, the Republicans who got really excited about Trump drawing a hard line against Ukraine, those bastards who've been, resisting Trump, the Russian incursion. Maybe it's time to side with Russia, support Trump on that. Well, now Trump is flip-flopped again. Now he's Mr. Zelensky, and everyone who's on Russia's side clearly is an enemy of the state and can't possibly understand. Now, who knows what it'll be tomorrow? The point is, if you just lash yourself to the mast of the Trump ship, you wind up being crossways with yourself right before. There's no way to maintain your dignity by being on Team Trump. And this is going to happen across pretty much every area of American life, American science, public policy, foreign policy, like all these things. Trump, the only thing that is internally consistent is that at every moment, his only concern is maintaining his own ego and dominance and getting flattered and praised. And that is not you cannot do that or try to do that while also actually moving through the world as it actually exists. And this problem is not one that you can wish away.
But you have forgotten the triple conspiracy at the UN to stop him on the elevator, to screw up his teleprompter. He really has gone past the point of no return. And he will use anything and attack anyone to cover for his own miscues, to cover for his own humiliation in that ridiculous UN speech. This is what he does. And the people who take him seriously and pursue it really make fools of themselves. I want to talk about the residual fallout from the Jimmy Kimmel matter. Interestingly enough, Nexstar and Sinclair, both really with a MAGA bent, are using their affiliates to continue to keep Jimmy Kimmel off the air for the people in their viewing area. It's interesting. The protesters, the boycotters are saying, fine, we'll go after you next. We're coming after you folks. And I think we're seeing kind of a clash of two things. On one hand, you see network television, which is a dying business. And at some point, ABC may say, we don't need a network. We don't need these local stations. We don't need the FCC. We got Hulu, we got ESPN, we got Parks, all the rest of it. So on one hand, Nexstar and Sinclair are really playing on a losing hand. Long term, they may not have a great future. But even more scary is the degree to which MAGA individuals, MAGA-run companies have taken over our media landscape, Ben. This is like something out of Berlusconi or out of Orban. I mean, you can go through the list.
in Italy and Hungary, they're going to be saying this is like something out of Trump's USA.
Yeah.
At this point, we're the ones setting the pace for what authoritarians can do. Let's be clear, this is only even possible. The idea of Nexstar and Sinclair, these giant local TV, kind of holding companies, being able to merge because of Trump's actions in 2017. In 2017, the Trump administration changed the rules. It used to be that you couldn't own TV stations that reach more than 39% of the U.S. market. Nexstar and Sinclair, if they merge, 60%. 60% of the American household will be served by TV stations that this one giant merged company would own. And so Trump realized that these regulations to prevent antitrust are a way of building power for an authoritarian government, because he can say yes or no, and he can make it so that you can only merge and get really big and powerful if you're willing to kiss the ring and bend the knee. That is so dangerous. The whole idea behind why you should have these ownership caps is to prevent this kind of censorship through the private markets, which is exactly what's happening now. It is not just obeying in advance. It is jumping up and down, waving, I obey, I submit flags in order to be able to make more money and then push their ideological agenda. So it is exactly right. All the protesters, all the boycotters who are targeting Sinclair and Nexstar right now to demand that they put Kimmel back on the air, that they back down, you're heroes of the Republic at this moment. If the far right controls the algorithms, the platforms, and the TV stations and the cable networks, it becomes increasingly hard for people that don't actively seek out alternate outlets like the Contrarian to get a clear sense of what's going on. And that's also why all the contrarians out there, what you do by tuning in, by reading stuff, and then spreading the word and getting the truth out, this is essential resistance activity. You've got to spread the truth, because the lies are being propagated by the people who own the biggest information outlets in the entire country.
Absolutely. And you have CBS merging with Paramount. You now have the potential to gobble up Warner Brothers from another right-wing billionaire. On and on it goes. So I think when Democrats get back in power, and they will get back in power, they got to look at the antitrust laws, breaking up these mega companies. They have to look at regulation. They have to look at really belt and suspenders for First Amendment, and really stiff penalties for people who retaliate against their employees for engaging in First Amendment protected activities. So we are living in dark times, folks, but I, for one, am encouraged because of the boycott activity and all of the energy that we see on the ground. I do want to talk a little bit about that UN speech, Ben. That was kind of easy pants stuff. Imagine you're a European ally or an Asian ally or any ally, and you're looking at this thinking, oh my gosh, this guy is nuts. And the danger is, will they kind of cut their own path, or will they make some kind of deals with China? He's made us really kind of completely unreliable. Would you trust this man with your country's integrity, sovereignty?
No, this is not the guy you want as your ally. I remember the days when the UN General Assembly would come along and the kind of actual thoughtful leaders would give their speeches, and then you'd have Hugo Chavez go up and bellow out a giant stem winder with all kinds of crazy conspiracy theories, and then Ahmadinejad would go up and give a terrible speech, with hours of denunciations and da da da. Now it's Trump. Now Trump is that guy. It's you, Donald Trump. You're the one that everyone in the world is watching in a mix of horror, disgust, and kind of nervous laughter. This is not what we want as the face of the United States. And him going up and saying, "Oh, all your countries are going to hell. I'm so good at this. I predicted everything. People say I predict everything, and they're right. I get nothing wrong." Like it's just painful. It makes you squirm, and it does have these geopolitical repercussions that ultimately make life more expensive for Americans. Because when all these other countries are like, the U.S. can't be relied on, the U.S. is going to throw tariffs on us, the U.S. is going to pull out of military alliances, then they're like, well, I guess we should build our military, political, and economic cooperation with other people. And the result is that you go to the store and everything costs twice as much as you thought it was going to. It is such a bad strategy for even just for political self-preservation. He should want to be able to find ways to bring costs down for Americans. Instead, he's doing things that actually erode the trust that make commerce and cooperation and prosperity and peace possible. So it is It's not, it is both. It makes you want to laugh and cry at the same time, but
Yeah.
it's also just totally self-defeating. The guy should have taken the cue from the escalator, stayed at the bottom, and sent somebody else who can actually give a speech that doesn't offend and annoy the entire world to give a speech in his stead.
Yes, it would have been fun actually for the elevator to have gone in reverse, because that's the
Faster and
way he's
faster.
taking the country. He's taking us
Yes.
down, down. I want to, before we get to my favorite part of the show, which is what we're looking forward to, I want to spend just a moment, Ben, because you are really the one person in the Democratic Party who hammered over and over again, still hammers over again, that every election matters. We are coming up on Virginia and New Jersey, and also Supreme Court elections in Pennsylvania. How important are those for setting the scene for next year for the midterms?
So they're so critical in three different respects. The first thing is that the margin, I'm going to say it this way, the margin of victory for the Democrats in these races, because we are going to win these races, and that is for the governor's races in New Jersey and Virginia, also for the state legislative races that are happening, the path to trifecta in Virginia, and the Pennsylvania Supreme Court races. The margin will be looked at by everybody in politics. It'll be a signal for which side has the energy to turn people out, which side can actually execute campaigns effectively, who's more pissed off and ready to actually vote, with their feet and their ballots to go to the polls. And that then affects which people run for what offices. People are still announcing their candidacy in 2028, which people retire. You can always tell when you have a wave of Republican retirements that that is a signal that they realize that the writing might be on the wall. And then the thing that has been so amazing is a lot of Democrats are announcing that they're stepping down because they know this is the moment when Democrats can hold their seats. So these are people who are not worried that they wouldn't get reelected. It's that they're excited because they know they can pass the torch safely where they live. A very different dynamic, and you can see different types of seats where those retirements are happening that tell that story. Those dynamics will be massively accelerated by this. So this election, it could come in the middle of a Trump shutdown fight. Republicans could cave the day after the election. If this is a huge wave for Democrats, Republicans will realize that what they're doing is a disaster. It also connects because Virginia is shut down city. So
Yes.
many federal workers live there. So what's happening to the entire country is going to be directly affected by these political dynamics on the ground, where Republicans will start pressuring Republicans in Virginia will start pressuring national Republicans to back off, because they know that if the Republican shutdown leads to a blowout victory for Democrats in Virginia, then all of that will spell really, really ugly stuff for Republicans in 2026. But the last thing I'll say is this, and this is really critical. What happens in 2025 and 2026 determines who runs our democracy in 2028.
Yes.
So, governors and state legislatures will play a role in thinking about questions like, can someone who's served 2 terms as president get on the ballot again in 2028? The constitutional answer is no. The MAGA answer might be, Constitution what? So it really and it really does matter for that. In Pennsylvania, the Supreme Court majority in 2028 could come down to what happens in the state Supreme Court race in 2025. There are 3 democratically appointed state Supreme Court justices who are up for retention. You have to say yes, retain them. Yes, keep them. If they say no, then it triggers elections and could lead to a chance to have a MAGA flip of the state Supreme Court in the state that was Wisconsin was the closest state in 24, but it was the tipping point state of Pennsylvania in 2024. And, same thing in Wisconsin. Next April is going to have a Supreme Court race. If the progressive supported candidate wins, there's no path to a MAGA majority in our state Supreme Court. Wisconsin, Pennsylvania Supreme Courts, that right there could be the ballgame in 2028. So you kind of think of it as like a series of dominoes. If Republicans push it over this way, it leads to this chain of dominoes falling that could lead to the fall of American democracy. If the pro-democracy forces, and Republicans, independents, and Democrats all welcome to join together to do this, if we push the domino in the other direction, it can open the door to really a resurgence of the best spirit of the United States coming out of the ashes of this administration. And all that is going to come to a head this November in these 3 states.
Ben, you are getting a lot of love in the comments, and they are right. You are inspirational. You do kind of keep this party pointed in the right direction. Wow. We reached the favorite part of the show for me. What are you looking forward to, Ben, other than the 2025 elections?
Well, there's so much to look forward to. I'm looking forward this afternoon to having dinner with my kids and their grandparents, my mom and stepdad. We're all going to get together and have some pizza after my eldest kid's cello lesson and talk about karate. My 7-year-old just got his white belt. He's very excited about and proud about. Also feels the burden of responsibility because he has to bring his white belt to every practice, which is something he's never been responsible for before. But that's part of growing up, something Donald Trump, unfortunately, never quite did. And then at a political level, we are in this gear up for this fight. We're triumphant in the ABC battle, and we're gearing up for No Kings 2, which is a national giant mobilization that is going to show the GOP. And maybe it'll happen in the middle of a shutdown to try to, Republicans shutting down the government in order to cut people's health care, Democrats fighting back. It's all kind of coming together right before the November elections in a way that I think sets the stakes very clearly. This is a country that is going to make a decision, a collective decision about whether we want to be ripped apart by the wealthiest people in the world for their own benefit and suppressing democracy so people can't fight back, or will we be a country where, as we saw with ABC, regular folks and folks in all these different institutions come together to fight back and actually try to build a country that works for everyone. So it feels like that kind of month is coming our way.
Absolutely. I am looking forward to two things, and I know you'll be surprised. They both have to do with the Contrarian. One, I'm looking forward to getting my merch. If you haven't, time is running out. Go to our Substack. Contrarian gear will be waiting for you. Great stuff. And you can wear it to No King's Day. You could wear it around your neighborhood. And people say, Contrarian, what's that about? And then you can tell them. So we are very excited to have that out there. And the other thing is we are getting ready for our coverage of No King's Day too. As you all know, we take these opportunities to do extensive coverage. We want to be the place where you can come to find out what's going on in the opposition. You know what Trump is up to, but what are you doing? What are we doing collectively? And that is part of our mission and our contribution to the resistance. So thank you. Thank you. We could not do what we do without you. We couldn't have Ben and his beard. We couldn't give our proceeds back to litigation to help Norm fight the Trump machine without you. So thank you all, Contrarians. Have a great rest of the week, and we will see you back next week. Thanks so much. And thank you, Ben, for joining us. Take
Absolutely.
care.
Have a great weekend.